A key to change Ukraine. Have you ever thought what we are ought to do after the war? Not only to rebuild a ruin, but to build new democratic institutions, ensure dignity of human, ensure prosperity of all, not only of a small group like it was before. But how can we achieve that? We all know our great Ukrainian way of life before the full-out war and how basically no real reform felt by Ukraine was accomplished after the Revolution of Dignity. Revolution seen by many as a turning point, just like the orange one, after which we restart our government and it suddenly stops being corrupt. Well, there was some change made, but was it enough to prevent the war? Was it enough to make aggressor think that no one will be met here with a bunch of flowers? To make aggressor stop thinking that our army will really wait for some mysterious orders from government to actually start fighting? It is not only about mentality change in general society. It is also about institutions which show their power passively all the time. Seems like we need to change strategy. The state is not only about the geopolitical fight for survival, it is also about the economic representation of various layers of society, like IT specialists, small business and workers, and monopolists. Not everyone wants to simply be an ideal civil servant. It is sad to admit that, but most of you will agree. Most of the politicians in the world and in the democratic world also do their job for themselves, just their own interests. Well, it is human nature. Do many people want to be really popular, but really poor, like Diogenes? Egoism is an important part of any living being, so it can survive other egoists on the harsh planet Earth. It's just biology. So if we simply elect a more pro-Western government, but won't change our political attitude and continue living our old, means passive, way of life, we will simply be eaten by those who actually act, just like in 2005, just like in 2014, just like tomorrow. Experience of other nations like Great Britain, the USA and Estonia says that it is not someone else's hell that makes difference, it is people, citizens, who make it. But how to make it? I have always wanted an answer to this question. It happened that I have met a lot of active and honest people who, divided and lacking finance, could not do anything to change anything. Thoughts brought me to understanding that national consolidation is key. Ukrainians can support, finance, become a strong footing for our civil society. Today, when, well, no one has money, we still gather millions and millions of dollars to support our saviors, the army. Are human rights activists, environmental activists, those who fight against illegal construction, etc., wars? I do not say desperately support them now, but when the peace comes, they will be our army, defenders of the change. If they had resources, they could easily succeed in what they are fighting for, and eventually any government must have taken real and systematic actions to improve Ukraine. But these organizations are not solidified together. They do a lot of work in a lot of fields, staying divided. In our geopolitical realities, we do not have time for thousands and thousands of questions. We need to go for a core of problems, the inappropriate balance of power, when few people control the country and everyone else silently agrees because they do not have a force to represent themselves. Political technologist Taras Plakhtiev 15 years ago also had an idea. What if we create a political organization that is not ruled by 5 or so strong leaders, but by all the members? In today's realities of massive political institutions, it is quite hard to buy votes of all those dozens of thousands. More than 170 real-life experiments held by Mr. Taras in the recent years have shown that, tied by mutual aims, such an organization does not dive into chaos. So, how does it work? Here we have a simplification of the scheme presented by Mr. Taras at Second Winterthur Republic in 2010. Having a lot more horizontal connections than a typical, means semi-authoritarian political party, Plakhtiev's discovery still has an organizational core. But it does not rule the structure in a usual way, it simply organizes effective communication between expert groups and executive groups of this system. We can compare its structure with typical party structure on the next slide. Most of the decisions made by the organization, again I emphasize most, are achieved through a general vote, direct democracy of sorts. We can observe the process on the next simplified scheme. Information coming from the outer is analyzed by autonomous profile expert groups, which make a recommendation that's being judged by all the members in a general vote. If 2/3 of members of the party agree with experts, then a decision is made and executive groups get to work. Whew, too much brain pressure. Consolidation around such an institution is key to changing Ukraine, because this new generation political party will be financed by middle class and not the large businesses, backed by intelligentsia and not managers of large businesses, and supported by people of Ukraine because they will believe. This organization will become a platform for grassroots to pressure their interests into Ukrainian politics, making the financial groups not the only ones ruling the world. The new political strategy of Ukrainians should be activeness, participation, consolidation. If we create sufficient democratic institutions, Ukraine will change and succeed. Thank you.